The partial solar eclipse in Aries is on Saturday morning, March 29th, Eastern Standard Time. This is actually a really special eclipse, so I'm very excited to be speaking with you about it today. Let's get into 5 things. Six, actually. I thought of another one at the last minute. 6 extraordinary things to keep in mind about this eclipse. First, and please excuse my amateur setup here. First, Venus and Mercury are both retrograde right now. Venus just left Aries, and Mercury is at 0 degrees of Aries. They're both moving toward Pisces, but then they'll go direct and come back the other way. So they're crossing over this Pisces-Aries threshold. And this is really adding to the signature of this solar eclipse astrologically. Basically, Venus and Mercury both going retrograde in Aries right at the time of this eclipse in the sign. It's some dynamic stuff. Aries qualities are sort of repressed or a little bit more unavailable, a little bit beneath the surface, internalized. They're not as available for us to work with out on the surface as they usually are because of all that retrograde energy in the sign. And then when we have this eclipse, it's like suddenly they're extra available to us. It's like a spotlight and a megaphone is given to Aries after this time of going inside, being quiet, not expressing, not having those energies available. So this can kind of be a lot to take, I think, especially in Aries, because Aries energy is strong. So the qualities that we might feel sort of go offline a little bit in their normal way, the qualities that start to function differently. We may have been feeling this for a little while now, a few weeks, that will suddenly sort of pop online in the next 2 weeks around the time of, once this eclipse happens on Saturday morning and for the 2 weeks that follow, especially, are confidence, leadership energy. Anger is a part of Aries. So you can see how these qualities sort of leaving us and then coming back could be very powerful experience. Will, drive, assertion, taking initiative, getting things started, going first. These are things that Aries loves to do and is super, super primed to do. But to have that energy be sort of extra right after it being a bit repressed is just sort of a lot to handle. I love astrology giving us a little bit of a heads up about that. I think that can be helpful for working with the energy, not just in yourself, knowing that that might be coming, but also seeing it in others, seeing that shift as it happens this weekend. And I've kind of been feeling that downshift. I don't know about anyone else, but I think just as they were, since they've both been retrograde, I have felt a little bit of that repression of those Aries energies. I think of them as turning inward. I think of it as being internalized. But part of what that means is that it is beneath the surface. It isn't as available to us. It kind of reminds me of, trees in wintertime, still very, very much alive, but conserving that energy, keeping the green inside instead. So then this eclipse, that Aries energy kind of bursts out and is ready to go. Okay. The second extraordinary thing to keep in mind about this eclipse is that it is the last in the Aries Libra series. And those eclipses began in April of 2023. So you might want to think back to any story that's been going on for you that began in 2023, April of 2023 through October of that year. I think if you know where Aries and Libra fall in your chart, that can be helpful for sure. But I also think that for everyone, there are sort of some themes that came up. It's interesting that we were working with finding that inner voice this whole time. You know, Aries, you always want to be moving toward the North Node and sort of releasing the negative signatures of the South Node. So we had the North Node in Aries for 2 years. And that was causing us to want to bring in those leadership qualities of Aries, the uniqueness, the being able to get things started and kick things off. Really, the listening to our own voice, though, was what came through for me more and more with that, especially because it resonated really well with releasing the negative signature in Virgo, which is about letting go of people pleasing, letting go of doing what other people want you to do or showing up how they want you to show up, and instead tapping into our own unique voice a little bit. So many people have been working with themes around that in some way for the last couple of years. And this is the final eclipse in that series. So it's interesting to think about where you've come in those areas. And if you do know your chart, think about where Aries and Libra fall in your chart, the houses. I do also have horoscopes on my sign, best checked out by rising sign if you know it. March is up already, and would have that information for you about those house signs, and it's also widely available now. It's wonderful. Okay, third extraordinary thing, and I might need to move some of these visuals that I already put up here because what am I doing? Let's just do that. I might need to move some of that because I need to talk about what's behind it. There's so much going on in these areas of the chart, isn't there? I mean, you really don't have to be an astrologer to look at this chart and go, "What's going on over here?" There's so much activity. And that's that Pisces Aries threshold that's so active right now. Okay. So Neptune is moving into Aries literally tomorrow. And this is pretty extraordinary. Neptune will be there until October, and then will retrogress back into Pisces until January. In January, yes, in January, Neptune will re-enter Aries, where it will stay for good in January of 2026, and it will actually be there until 2039. Neptune is a very slow-moving planet. 165-year cycle, right? So it's been 165 years since Neptune crossed this threshold, and it's going to do it tomorrow, right after the eclipse. And it doesn't have to be that way. Those two aspects actually have nothing to do with each other. So it's actually difficult to talk about Neptune and Aries in the same context as the eclipse video. But there's a way in which it's adding to the significance, a way in which it's paving the way for real, lasting, significant shifts and changes, right? It's like we worked through this 2 years of the North Node in Aries, helping us to move toward the positive signatures of this sign and helping us to move towards what's meant for us, what's our destiny in this house, in this place in our chart. And then Neptune moving in there. It's like now we're on a spiritual quest for this stuff. Now we're on a mission. I also think that I like to just picture, I think we're just getting started with Neptune and Aries and that there's a lot to talk about. And when I first start thinking about that, I like to actually picture the astrology as an actual house. Okay, so we have a house, which is an Aries house. The house is uh, in the style of Aries. It's an Aries house, whatever that means to you. Imagine a home made of Aries, and we have Venus there, basically taking a nap. Venus is visiting this Aries house retrograde. Mercury is visiting this house retrograde, also taking a nap, right? Neither of them are really, it's not like they're having a party in the Aries house. They're doing this deep sort of meditative work in the Aries house. Then the sun and the moon come in, and there's an eclipse, right? They conjoin. And it's near enough to the north node that it causes an eclipse. Okay, so that's a lot happening. And then the very next day, Neptune walks in, right? And Neptune hasn't been here for 165 years. He's visiting for a few months and then will stay until 2039. So Neptune's moving in, essentially, right after all of this. So that's significant. It is a very poignant moment in the Aries sector of our chart. And we see a lot happening with a lot of the outer planets. Basically, all of the outer planets are doing exciting things right now. I don't know why I can't get the right thing that I need. I've been trying to write on this chart, but okay, here it is. I knew it was definitely human error. You know, I'm just thinking about all these outer planets for a minute in the context of Neptune changing signs. We have Pluto newly in Aquarius just in the last few months. We now have Neptune about to change signs, and Uranus is going to change signs very soon too. These are all rare events. All of these planets will stay in these signs for a very long time. So this is sort of the era shifting energy in the background of everything. That's very exciting. Okay. All that, and then I'm going to take it away because I don't want it to distract as I say 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so the fourth extraordinary thing to keep in mind, maybe this one isn't super extraordinary, but it's important to mention, is that really this energy is active for the next 2 weeks and really the next 6 months. So even though we will be beginning the North Node in Pisces energy, the North Node has left Aries now and is in Pisces. So even though we're sort of working with that the nodes and new signs, we still are wrapping up this eclipse signature as well. So in terms of that rising Aries energy, that in that part of your chart, that is still a theme that we're working with for the next 6 months, more acutely the next 2 weeks. Okay, number 5. This is a great time, around the time of this eclipse, to be asking yourself, where is assertion arising for you? Where are you seeing someone be very assertive? Where are you being very assertive? Where do you want to be assertive? I think that there are a lot of different words that you can use for Aries energy, and there's a lot of different ways to look at what's going on right now. And one thing that is sort of poking to the surface is that assertion. So if you pay attention to where that's showing up for you in your life, it might help you zero in on what these eclipses are about. Does it connect to a theme that's been going on since 2023? Okay, and then 6, the one I had to add last minute, and I will attach a video here at the end that gets a little bit more into it. This solar eclipse is occurring at sunrise if you are in the area where it's visible. If you're in New England, anyway. So I did a video yesterday, very short, just helping you to find the time and where the eclipse is happening for you. If you are in New England, it is happening at sunrise on Saturday morning. I think that's really cool. They say that in Maine, when the sun rises, it will rise eclipsed. So, sort of two little horns of the sun will come up over the horizon because the middle will be eclipsed out. So it'll sort of look like a double sunrise with two little pieces of the sun coming up. So that is really interesting and something to see. So even though in astrology, in many ways, they don't necessarily recommend viewing eclipses. You know, it's not really auspicious. Like our ancient ancestors probably weren't basking in eclipses because it's an unusual light, right? But I think that observing astrology is a really important part of it and a really fun part of it. Um, I do a couple things, like I don't really eat anything during an eclipse, and that's a very ancient practice, right? Like the light is a little bit weird right then. So while the actual sun is eclipsed, while the moon is eclipsed, not a fast for the day or anything like that, but just for those few hours or minutes that there's an eclipse happening, I just drink water and yeah, try to take it a little easy on those days and things like that. But I certainly will look at this eclipse if I'm up that early, which I usually am, so I probably will. And I hope that you do too. And thank you so much for joining me today. I will be back again soon. I'm working on those um, April astrology horoscopes. Check those out. And now's a great time to look back at March as well. Okay, have a great day. Thanks for being here.